Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Hello! Shadowcat back with more Star Trek Cosmoteer. And last time we were here, we managed to get up to 50%. Okay, we did that. We started on the next wedge, we managed to carve out the wedge that we were working on, now we gotta clear this out. But we have a problem here. We have a very large problem here. And the problem here is this. Cosmoteer is a very good game. Cosmoteer is a very expansive game. But I would like to discuss the differences between breadth and depth. Because there is a difference. And when I say that there is a difference, some good examples of this. So when you want something that has a great amount of breadth to it, you're talking about a world in which things are very large, very expansive. We're talking about settings that you can literally go anywhere in the world and find something. To that end, I would go ahead and get into things like, I would say, Star Wars. Star Wars is a situation that has a very expansive setting. However, how deep the setting is really depends on what you're talking about. Now, this may be a bit somewhat controversial given, that it's Star Wars, one of the largest properties in the world, but when you get into what Star Wars is, and you want to discuss the details and the nuance of Star Wars, we can talk about things like the Force, and while we can talk about things like the Force for hours on end, the Force is not that deep. We can discuss philosophies around the Force, we can discuss the powers of the Force, but the Force itself is not meant to be deep. It's meant to be a hand wave. The Force is just there. Okay? And Jedi, or Sith, or basically anybody who has the ability to tap into the Force, can use the Force and its various abilities. Now, contrast this to something, say, the Wheel of Time, where the Wheel of Time has the one power, and the one power is very, very deep. It's not as expansive. You can get really creative with it, but while you only have the 5 powers of the one power, that being air, earth, water, fire, and spirit, you can do a lot of things with them, although there are a few weaves that everybody relies on, but the rules around the one power, what it can do, what it can't do, how it functions mechanically, who can use it, when, what powers do people have, what power levels do people have, and so on and so forth. It is a very deep magic system that you can really dive into for hours at a time, even though the actual using of it is less expansive. So we can understand the difference between breadth, which is just a huge environment with lots of uses and everything, and depth, where you have, niche uses, but they're very nuanced and very easy to kind of bend to do what you want them to do. Cosmoteer is a very expansive game. I mean, you can build whatever ship you want. You can build it however you want. It's very good like that. However, Cosmoteer is not a very deep game. Which is to say that while you are allowed to build your ships however you want to, you are not really allowed to build your ships however you want to, because there's only actually a few really successful designs out there. And I say this because we are not using successful designs. We have been sticking to the canon of Star Trek, and we have been building ships according to Star Trek. These are absolutely wonderful, beastly ships, and I love each and every one of them dearly. Some of them we've had for a long time, some of them we haven't had for as long a time, but they have all done well. And I love every single one of them. I even love the Akira, even though we don't have it anymore. The problem we're having right now is that we are going up against ships that are literally built for a single purpose and nothing else. And I speak specifically of these nuclear ships. These ships that are built with 6, 12, 18, 24 nuclear launchers, and then an equal number of explosive missile launchers to help kind of screen active defenses from trying to shoot down nuclear warheads, which is basically impossible anyway because nuclear warheads have so much HP. However, we have seen the weakness of these ships. If you get in behind them, they usually have no defenses. These ships have, just stacks and stacks and stacks of armor on the front of them to prevent you from getting through anything on the front. But they have almost nothing on the back, so if you can circle around them to get to the back like the Defiant usually does, or at least tries to do, they usually fall pretty easily, even to, say, the Defiant, and the Defiant is not the most heavily armed ship we have. I mean, just as a quick reminder, the Defiant only has 4 forward cannons and 2 phasers on the wings. And it's got a couple of torpedo launchers, which I just noticed are empty. Let's see if we can fix that. So, what we have is these ships are purpose-built with one goal in mind. And that is to just annihilate everything in their path with no consideration to what comes next. And I'll be honest with you, I hate that. I despise that. What they are, essentially, are just kamikaze ships. There is no thought given to the long-term ability for them to do anything. They are just there to blow something up or be blown up. They're monsters. If this was a fantasy game, they would be goblins, or kobolds, or, orcs, or something like that. They have no further purpose than that, unlike our ships, which are built to be explorers. So we have a problem here. We are trying to fight monsters, and yet we don't have any monsters of our own. And that's going to have to change. I also noticed that we're having a really hard time keeping the shields up over here. I think it changes in order. Okay, I think I see what I want to do. Let's turn on blueprint mode. You're going to go there. You're going to go there. Now you can say like that. Plasma tubes, I need those back. There and there. And all the doors. Okay, that should be fine. Make it so. That should be able to get more power, I think, to the big shield in the front. I hope. Because it's barely hanging on right now. Or maybe we just don't have enough people on board. this ship did say that it needs about 317, and right now it's only at 280, which honestly should be enough. Oh, you know what? It's actually these that aren't keeping up. That's kind of crazy. That's the entire reason why. What if we did something different? It's a 3x3 area. What if we ditch the plasma tubes? Do that instead. Does that work better? That actually does seem to work better. I guess plasma tubes just really aren't that great, unfortunately. Okay, well, we fixed that. Anyway, on the subject of building things, though, that is what I kind of wanted to talk about. So, we're going up against ships that are purpose-built to just kill things. Okay? And to a certain extent, so is the Yamato. But we're going to need something bigger. And so I went looking. I did a little bit of searching. And I said, what is the biggest, the baddest, the toughest, the strongest ship ever built by the Federation? And that was actually a little bit hard to do, because when we're talking about like the television show canon, quite frankly, that has to go to something like the Sovereign class, which most people know better as the USS Enterprise E. And believe me, part of me would absolutely love to upgrade the Enterprise A into the Enterprise E, but we're not going to do that. I mean, I could potentially upgrade it again to maybe the B or the C, but I don't know about that. Although I may have to do that at some point. The fact is that the Enterprise is doing very well, but I don't know if it's actually going to make it. I mean, it's a good ship, but it only has 6 phasers on it, and, well, it does have another phaser aft, so it's got that at least. But what I would like to try and do, or at least kind of blueprint out, is I found a ship called the Invincible class. Now, this is going to be an absolutely massive ship. Fortunately, there's a base over here that we took apart, that we may be able to use for that. This ship, however, as I read from the wiki, it is the single largest multi-mission combat-equipped starship ever constructed by Starfleet. Designed as the ultimate in frontline explorers, classified as a fleet carrier command battleship. It combines the roles of a battleship and a fighter carrier, having a massive offensive capability in terms of onboard weaponry and a huge complement of tactical fighters. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Carriers are my single favorite ship. They're not as flashy as things like battleships are, okay? No carrier ever really stole the show in any single combat theater. However, look upon a carrier fleet and tell me what everyone is looking at. Oh yeah, it's the carrier. Why? They are the biggest ships in the world. I mean, the other things bigger than carriers are some oil tankers. Things like the Seawise Giant. Likewise, in space, the biggest ships are carriers. Why? Because they literally carry other ships, and the Invincible class is no different. And if future me is paying attention, we should have a picture of the Invincible class on the screen. So, do that for me, please. Thank you. So the Invincible class is absolutely enormous, and I do love it. When we look at the offensive capabilities, though, things that we can actually put on it, let's take a look at what this thing has. 24 phaser arrays. It says Type 12 phaser arrays, but we don't really have a Type or we don't have upgradable tiers. So it's a Type 24. It has 24 phaser arrays. It has 12 forward, triple-mounted pulse phaser cannons. Now, I don't know anything about triple-mounted, but that's what these are. These are, well, it says these are dual impulse phaser cannons. So presumably it would just be these, but with more barrels. Okay. After that, 12 rotary triple-mounted pulse phaser turrets. Now, this is something that we haven't played with yet. We have these cannons mounted on the front, but we also have, I believe it's these? Yes. If you can look at the red, these fire in all directions. These are turrets. I mean, you can change the direction of them, but these are turrets. They fire in all directions. So it has 24 phasers, 12 forward cannons, 12 turrets. After that, it has 18 torpedo launchers, 12 of them forward, 6 of them aft. I don't even know how we would fit all of that, because we have to build a two-dimensional ship. The only thing that I can think of would be to restrict this ship to not having tricobalt torpedoes, so that we could bury the torpedo launchers inside the ship. We do have that option, whereas these double phaser cannons, we can't bury those. So these have to go on the front. And then phasers we can bury inside the hull, and torpedo launchers we can technically bury inside the hull. It also has 18 mini torpedo phalanx arrays. 9 starboard, 9 port. So we don't have different sizes, really. What we could do is we could make some of them quantum and some of them photon. And so that is a total of 36 torpedo arrays. Now, the payload, according to the wiki on this thing, is 50 transphasic torpedoes, 750 quantum torpedoes, and 1,500 high-yield photon torpedoes. And then 3,600 mini quantum torpedoes. So if we wanted to build this thing per the wiki, it doesn't even use tricobalts. Quantum and photon anyway. So that's absolutely something that we could manage. Now, something else that we cannot do, though. This ship is a carrier, and so it comes with 144 Valkyrie-class advanced tactical flyers. We can't do that, because fighters are not in the game yet. It's on the roadmap, someday. But this is an indie game, it only develops so fast. But still, if we look up at what this thing has automatically, it has 24 phasers. If we include cannons and turrets together, 24 cannons. And 36 torpedoes. This is insane. I don't even know if we can build it. I don't know how we would ever crew it. But I want to try and figure it out. So, to that end, I'm going to take everything I have, and we're going to come down to this base. And I want to try to plan this out. We also have a problem when it comes to crew. And actually, I want you to stay there. And I gotta change your flight direction again. Is there any more crew that I can pick up here? Because we're kinda... yeah, we're in a bad place when it comes to crew. I diverted as much crew as I could from the space station to my actual ships. But it did not work out very well. Okay. Would you idiots stop? Stop pushing the damn space station. Okay. You come down here. Now, we're going to need everything here broken down. So let's get the lasers working. There's a space station here. There is a ship here. We're going to tear apart everything and make the best of it. Can you figure out how to get down here? You morons. What are you even doing? That's it. Manual control. How hard is it to go backwards? Can you turn the ship a little bit? Or is that task too difficult for you? Okay. Now, how am I going to build this thing? I do not even know. I don't even know necessarily how big it's going to be. I have some stats on the size, but I can't really translate everything directly because we have to make things fit. And let's see, do you have anything up here? You have a lot of crystals and stuff. Lots of iron, lots of sulfur, coils, things of that nature. Don't have a lot of steel, though. We could probably fix that because we might need it. As a matter of fact, I'm ready to just buy pretty much everything you've got. So buy... You've got 9,000. I'm going to take all of this. Not going to take so much the raw resources, though. But we will take all of that. Because we may need it. This is where deep pockets are going to come in handy. Now, it was also mentioned that I can technically talk to other ships. And see if I can get resources from them. But they're not giving away crew. So that ain't gonna work. Okay, how are we doing over here? Looks like we're done. Alright then. Let's see what we can do here. Let's try and build us a monster. Create new ship. And it's going to go right there. Alright, first things first. Blueprint mode is on. And I'm going to go ahead and turn on mirror mode. Right now it's just along the vertical axis. So let's get started with the basics, I think. We need a command area. And so that is going to come down to flight. We're going to need to have a bridge at a minimum. Now, interestingly, this ship has multiple bridges. They call them the flag facilities, but there is a navigation bridge, which is what anyone who's watched Star Trek is familiar with. Then there is a flag bridge, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure what that is. So, it says on the wiki, the flag bridge is the nerve center of the task force led by the Invincible class. It is where coordination between task force elements and planning for task force movements were done, whether in squadron formations, mission group formations. So basically, this is where they coordinated with other ships. So the navigation bridge is what your ship is doing. The flag bridge is what other ships are doing. That makes sense. And then, of course, the flight operations bridge, which I'm familiar with because that's where you manage all of your small craft. Fighters, shuttles, everything like that. So, we've got that. If we need to have multiple bridges, we can have multiple bridges. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put the tractor beams there. I'm going to go ahead and put the sensors there, just because I think that works well. And this is going to need to have power. This might be foolish, but can we put the warp core there? I don't think we can. Technically we can, but it doesn't connect well. Yeah, it really does not connect well. They would have to travel through the warp core, or through the bridge, just to deliver power to the tractor beams and everything, so no, that's going to work. Okay, never mind. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. Instead, we're just going to put some regular power down there. Just like that. And so that gives us our command area. As far as where the shields go, it's got to go in the center somewhere, so... Actually, no, that's a really good point. It does need to go in the center. So, let's just move this up. Because the shield core is going to have to go in the middle. So, extra large. Should go right about there, maybe one spot up. Actually, I wonder, can I perfectly place it if I turn on this? That does not quite show me what I wanted. But maybe it will. Cut. No, that actually seems pretty good. Maybe it was actually better the way it was before. Okay. It's gonna go back to mirroring the vertical. Put that there. I'll move that back down. I guess it's fine. Okay. To that end... we'll go ahead and put that there. For now. I mean, I don't know how this is going to end up. So, looking at the images of the Invincible, it has an oval saucer section that I want to try to adhere to. I'm going to do my best on that one. As for the rest of the ship, it's weird. So, what it essentially looks like is it's a little hard to tell, but it actually does have what they call a catamaran design, which is it has nacelles that come off the back very, very similar to what the Akira had. So instead of having a primary secondary hull that everything comes off of, you've got these two pylons that come back, and then you have the nacelle pylons that come off of that, and then the nacelles. But what the Invincible also has, the Akira didn't, is an actual secondary hull that holds its two warp cores. Which means that, canonically, I could make it so this thing has two warp cores. Now, that second hull also carried the vast bulk of all of its fighter craft. We don't need to worry about that. We're just looking at this thing from the top down. And so from the top down, it looks like this thing just has a full secondary hull. And so that's what we're going to build. That does mean that it's going to have a huge tail coming off the end that we can use to put things in, which we're going to need to do. Remember, the armaments on this thing, it has 24 phaser arrays. Technically, that means 6 per side. The cannons, the 12 cannons, are all mounted on the front. The pulse phaser turrets can be mounted anywhere, but torpedoes, it has 12 forward, 6 aft, and then 9 on each side. That's going to be a lot. It's going to be an awful lot to do. It's going to be a very interesting build. To that end, I know I said that a lot, but what does 12 forward cannons look like? Maybe we should start there. So, how big does this thing have to be to accommodate these things? So that's 4, that's 8, 10, 12. Now, keeping in mind that this thing is oval in shape, we're going to want these things to... Well, okay, I think we could do that, actually. That's about the best we can do. I mean, we could maybe move everything up 1. We'll do that. So, if we're going to follow everything, that has to be the bow of our ship. Now, if that's the bow of our ship, we can't have armor on the bow of our ship. Which means, here's where things are going to get really, really interesting. The only thing we can have on the front of the ship is shields. So we have to do that. The problem here is that there's no way to now move, which means you technically have to do something like this. And then we have to power them still. And we have to get people in there, which means these are going to have to move back again. Because we're going to need to put power in here. Now, this is a disaster waiting to happen, unfortunately. Because there's like nothing to save this, the front of this ship once this all goes up. And so we're going to need to find a solution for this. And a solution I'm having a hard time coming up with. The best I can think of, and it's not great, would be to kind of recess it so that this thing cannot take any shots from the side. So looking at this, we could put this up here like so. Or even better, out here. With additional armor out there like that. And then we could even put that right there as a little bit of a capstone. That is a massive array of firepower, but if the shields failed, and the shields could fail very easily with just a few EMP missiles, that does not work well. I don't know how well this design is going to actually work. And that's going to be a bit of a problem. There's just not much else I can do about it. If I pull the shields back any further, things are going to get interesting. If I pull the shields back a little bit further, and I pull the power back a little bit further, I can add a modicum of armor here. Just a little bit, because I have to leave pathways for everything. It's not a great solution. It's really not. And I cannot back the shields up any further. They're already hugging the fronts of these turrets. And as it is, every turret is only really covered by about 2. The front ones are only covered by these 2 shields here. These are covered by the front shields and these. This one is covered by this shield and this one. This one doesn't quite cover it. So they essentially only have double shielding and nothing else. And the way that these are all arranged, one stray shot, and all of this goes up in smoke. The entire front of the ship will explode. I know it. I know. I can see it. We've seen it before. One explosion, and the rest, they're just all gone. The only way, or the only solution I see around this would be to make this completely separate, to put a whole bunch of armor behind this, and expect it to blow up. But now we're getting into the same territory of these other ships, where they're just expected to blow up. They're expected to be expendable. And I don't know what to do about that. And so I'm going to run with it for now. I'm going to run with it for now because I don't have anything else to counter this right now. So we're going to move on. We also need to have let's see, 12 forward torpedoes and 6 forward phasers. And I mean, this is crazy. So, one thing that we could do here, well, actually, no, I can't even do this. Actually, you know what I was just thinking? Something I was just thinking about. We're going to need power up here. I don't necessarily need to have one for each of these. So, we could do that. Similarly, I could probably skip out on some of these. And that would make this a little bit more defensible. Marginally. I mean, we're talking very marginally. But I could put a few more armor plates in there that way. That makes it a little bit better. It's not great. It's definitely not great, but it's a little bit better. Okay. Next, we need to have torpedoes. Well, no. Next, I guess we need to have like phasers. I don't even know. There's so much to pack in here. So much to pack in here. So technically speaking, we would need to use deck torpedo launchers. And all of this has to go on the front. And I still got to leave ways for people to get through. So how do we even do this? I could do them in clusters, maybe. Like, can we design a torpedo cluster? Something like... something self-contained. So we would need something like that. And then to have torpedo storage between all of it. And then throw in some walking area there. Make sure that we have all the doors that we need. And so it's all the torpedoes that we need. It's torpedo storage. And then we just need to... well, first off, these need to be quantums. And then we're going to cut this, and then we need to copy it. If we do that, there's not quite enough room. I could potentially shift things to make room for a third one. I don't know. I'm not sure. Or I could get rid of this last, shield generator, because, let's face it, this one is... well, it's protecting two of them, actually. I can't get rid of that. If I move it too much further back... that's about the best that I could do right there. And that would require me to delete that. I could just fit it right there. And then copy. And I could fit another one technically up here, I guess. Yeah, we could do something like that. I could even move those up there like so. We could delete all of this. And do that. And so that would give me 12 torpedoes forward. But what about phasers? We still gotta have 6 phasers forward. Where do we fit these in? Because these are not small. We need to fit these in anywhere that we can, so long as they're facing forward. And there's just really not room. So the closest I can make them is that. That's really the best that I can do there. I wonder, what would it look like if I was able to just make a... There's got to be a better way to integrate all of this together. I mean, We need to have 6 phasers forward. We need to have 12 torpedoes. Is there a way that we can make this work? Like, how do we make this work? You know what? I'm having a bit of a brainwave here. Okay? Stick with me. I'm having a bit of a brainwave. What if I put deck torpedoes like that? Or behind? Behind might actually be better. So now we need to have phaser controls. If we do that, now we need to have magazines, which just kind of fit in perfect like that. And that's a block. That's a block that I can use. Now we just need to have a third one. So here's what we're going to do. Delete these. Delete those. These modules here I think will work. The question is just where do we put them? So 6 across and they can't touch. What happens if we put that there? If we put that there, and then delete this, delete these. I'm going to cut. And I'm going to put this right here. And then I'm going to copy it. And that should actually work, I think. It looks kind of ugly, but I think that works. As far as doors go, we'll use all the doors we have available. Because we're going to need them. It's no good for fires, but quite honestly, I'm not worried about fires. Because at the point fires are going to happen, trust me, we're going to have bigger problems. And I want to take all of this because that should be everything we need on the forward array. And these should all be quantum torpedoes. And if I do this, and everything's touching, everything is happy again. Now, that is just the front of the ship. And already it looks awful. And we haven't even put crew on this thing yet. We have not even put crew on this thing yet. So, I don't know what we're doing yet. Let's take a look at the starboard and port arrays. So, again, we have 24... we have 24 phasers on this thing, 6 on each side, so each side array has to have 6 phasers. Every side has to have 9 torpedoes. And then probably this is where we need to start integrating our turrets. So 6 turrets on each side. So let's start with the tough one. Is to say, let's go with horizontal axis for this one. Horizontal array. So these can only get technically 1 space, apart. But I don't want that, so I'm going to move this down to make sure symmetry is online. Now, because it is oval-shaped, we can try to keep that very gradual slant. We can do that. Next, a lot of this is going to need to have shielding on it. So if I were to put torpedoes on the outside here, I could do... Let's see. If I did it this way, that would be 1, or that would be 2, 4, 6, 7. Technically, we need a 9th, though. I could put, I actually need 2 more. Oh, this does not divide nicely. Or does it? No, it really doesn't, because technically what we need is we need to have either 3 triplets or 4 pairs plus 1 extra. The 3 triplets might actually be the better way to go. So this would be our triplet then, and we would just need to copy that. And we can actually kind of sort of do that if I just move this stuff down a little. So, I mean, there's that. We got that. That gives us our torpedoes. And then, of course, we'll need to have magazines. And okay, we got it. That is enormous. Like, I was worried up here about, compacting everything, but looking at this array, I mean, this is absolutely not compacted, and we're not going to get it much closer because of the way the phasers are. So, we're going to have to leave this as is. That's our 6 phasers. We've got our 9 torpedoes. Now we need some turrets. And the turrets should actually be fairly easy because we're going to need to have controllers on all of these. So we got those there. Then, turrets. So these can go here like this. And there is a purpose for this, because that should be the perfect size for these smaller shields. And I mean, that works. That does work. Now, the one thing that we're missing here is maneuvering. Because we don't have any kind of maneuvering thrusters. We don't have any thrusters in the front for retros. We don't have any room for maneuvering thrusters here. However, we can fix this. Because we can come here and grab these huge thrusters. And we can plonk a couple of huge thrusters there. And it is layered in shielding, so hopefully that will help. But more than that, we can go ahead and just bury some of this. Yeah, like that, I think. And then down there, and yeah, I think that works out pretty well. The only thing really missing now would be some active defenses. But we can do that. Because everywhere inside of here, we can slip these active... Well, no, actually, one thing we are missing. We are missing something. We're missing power. We're actually missing a lot of power. So, what if... What if we actually replace these turrets with power? And then we take the turrets and we just plug them into the power. There we go, because the power is in all directions pass-through. Okay. Now, there's a lot of space in here to fill in. I mean, specifically, we can fill in that, and we can take this all the way down. And then if we fill... That's a pretty sizable amount of space. What can we put in here? Well, we know that we need things like, you know, crew quarters. So why don't we put crew quarters in there? Let's go back to one of those. Specifically, this thing's already saying that it wants 592. 592. This thing is incredible. We're going to take this and we're going to move this up. Turn symmetry off. I'm going to stick this thing up here. Turn symmetry back on. Symmetry vertical axis. I'm going to take this and cut it. And I tell you what, normally I would try to finish these builds in one day. This ship is too big. It is too big to finish in one day. So it absolutely ain't happening. You know what I'm going to do, actually? Is I'm not going to try and really fit everything in like that. I'm going to go ahead and just say that this entire operation here, this is... Let's see, the bridge is 4, the shield is 4. The shield doesn't really count, though, so I'm going to center this thing on the bridge. Which is to say, these torpedoes should be centered on the bridge. And bam. That should be good for the sides, keeping the bridge right in the middle of the saucer. And then when we take this, and bring it down. We cut that, we bring this down here. When we connect it up, it looks like that. Is that perfect? No, it is not. Some modifications may need to be made. But this does kind of give us a better idea of what we're looking at. Technically, we have this entire front area here now to work with. Which means that I could take this, delete that. Could take these and move them inside here. Now if I do this, I still got to get another one in somehow. So, copy that. And if I plonk it right there, that gives me my 6 forward phasers, and we might be able to just build or shift everything around to shape it around the torpedoes here to give us that nice rounded bow section. Or at least that's kind of the idea. So let's try moving a few things. Gonna move that down. Just gonna move like everything down. As a matter of fact, no, let's actually do that. Let's just drag everything down. So cut and drag it down. This whole column here, cut it, drag it down. This whole column here, drag it down. This whole column here, cut it, drag it down. This column here, cut it, drag it down. Okay, and the end result is kind of ugly. Not gonna lie, it's kind of ugly. It's okay though. It's a start. It is a start. And actually this, while it is ugly, maybe I can make this work for us. Because while it is ugly, and it is undeniably ugly, we could actually keep it like this and build up around it. So if I was going to be doing this, we could I'm not sure how exactly I would do this. But I would do it something like this. I would say if it was a solid hull, that would be flat. And then we would go like that, and like that. And then see how this carries us. Not quite there. So we'll have to do this a different way and just extend it out a little bit. And now the reason I'm doing this way, and even then, maybe that's the wrong way to do this. I'm not sure what the best way is. Oh, it doesn't look that bad, really. Yeah, we'll do that. And something like that. Now, the reason I planned this out, because a lot of this has to be deleted, is because, technically, we just need to be able to shoot forward. And so we can keep everything up to, say, here. That does leave, however, this forward area incredibly vulnerable. And so what I'm considering is this. And it looks weird. I know it looks weird. But that will give them some protection from the side, whereas everything else down here has shields for protection. And we're going to fill in the rest of this. So with that filled in, everything here is protected from a direct shot from the side. Still a little on the vulnerable side, and that is absolutely vulnerable. I don't necessarily have any good ideas for that. But right now it's the best I can think of. However, like I said, this is running long anyway. We're not going to be able to do this in one sitting. So, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up here. And I'm just going to say, this is going to be an absolute monstrosity of a ship if we can pull it off. That's a pretty significant if. I don't know if we can actually do this. And I don't even know if we can crew it if we do. Suggested crew right now is 761. I think that's as much as all of our other ships put together so far. So, I don't know if this will even work. I may just have to scrap the whole thing and set the Enterprise up as, you know, a more advanced Enterprise. I don't know yet. But what I do think we're going to do is we're going to take a break here. When we come back next time, we will continue working on this ship. Unnamed ship? I don't want you to be an unnamed ship. Can I name you? Edit ship name. It's going to be the Invincible. I spelled that wrong, didn't I? Yes, I did. I did spell that wrong. Invincible. There we go. Okay. Invincible. There's going to be a lot that goes into this. So, if you want to see how the rest of the ship turns out, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon, that way you get notified when it comes out. If you know somebody else who might also enjoy this, then share it with them, especially if they like shipbuilding. This game is all about shipbuilding after all. Share it with them if you think they'll like it. Otherwise, though, if you just like me, leave a like on the video, leave a comment down below, and I will see you next time for more Star Trek Cosmoteer. And until next time, take care.